Yo, what's up, yo? It's the MMA Analyst, and I'm back at it again. It's been a little bit, but I'm back, and I'm here to do the UFC 104 prediction slash preview video. Now, let me say this right off the bat. UFC 104, when it comes to predictions, man, a lot of people gonna have some rough records. I might be one of them. This is a difficult card. It's not a lot of fighter A versus fighter B, and fighter A is just gonna whoop his ass or anything like that. This is like a lot of tough, close matches where the winner, it's a toss up. And another thing, as I was going through this, there's like people I want to win, people I think will win, and then people that I think will win, but there's something in me that is overriding that who I think will win. So I gotta go with that who I feel will win. I think it's who I feel will win and who I think will win. And one of those two is more powerful than the other. And a lot of times I go with who I think will win. Sorry, who I feel will win. But then I go, you know what? Who do I think will win? It's just a battle, y'all. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a beautiful thing to not have that feeling, because it's tears you apart inside and you don't know. So throughout this here, I'm gonna go with my pick, and in the end, my pick is my pick. It's this guy for the win. But I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna say this is who I feel will win, but this is who I'm going to pick. You know what I'm saying? Just a few of them. Just for y'all who are wondering, who do I want to win? We all know I need Shogun to win. That is very important. Shogun, get that win, man. I want Pat Barry to win. I would like Anthony Johnson to win. And I think it would be good for everything except for Ben Rothwell if Cain Velasquez won. But let's start right from the top. No more talking. Let's get right down to it. Lyoto the Dragon Machida versus Mauricio Shogun Rua. Let's get down with Lyoto Machida. He's undefeated, 15 wins. He's got 5 knockouts, 2 submissions. Of those wins, he's got most recently the brutal knockout over Rashad Evans. He's got a knockout over Thiago Silva. He decisioned Tito Ortiz. And by the way, back in the day when I said it was like a hitman move, just recently, Machida said he felt that was his most difficult fight because of the fact that he thought he was sent in to beat Tito Ortiz, but on a political thing. They were like, yo, Machida, go beat him. But he felt the extra pressure because he felt the organization was putting him out there, as political reasons. We need somebody for sure that will beat Tito Ortiz. So yeah, Lyoto Machida even said, hey man, I think I was used as a hitman. He didn't say hitman, but we all know that's what it was. Also, he's got wins over Sokoju. Sokoju came in the UFC. That's when the big hype was going over Sokoju because he had the 2 big Pride wins. He shut that down real quick. And then back in the day, he beat BJ Penn, who I think he was weighing in at around 195. That's a big BJ Penn. He also beat Rich Franklin in his 3rd fight. It was Lyoto Machida's 3rd fight. He beat him by TKO. And that's back in 2003. But anyways, Lyoto Machida has definitely done his thing in the UFC. For the longest time, I felt it just wasn't going to happen. A title shot, it couldn't go down. The UFC didn't want, a guy that wasn't finishing fights, a guy that wasn't aggressive enough to actually be that champ. They already had their Tim Sylvia run. They didn't want that again. And I'm not saying skill-wise Tim Sylvia and Lyoto Machida are on the same level, because they are not. I'm just saying. Also, there were a lot of other guys in the light heavyweight division who are very marketable, or at the time very marketable, very entertaining. And I don't think they're going to let this guy slide on in. But, the clouds open, the stars align, everything happened the way it needed to for Machida to get his title shot. He got that title shot. He he won the title from from Rashad Evans, and now he is champion, undefeated. And many say that he is unbeatable, nobody can touch him. Now, yes, he hasn't been beaten. That's absolutely true. And he hasn't been touched. So, that is essentially a true statement. He is unbeaten and he has been untouched. But is he unbeatable and is he untouchable? Is there nobody out there that can track him down? Is there nobody out there that could submit him or take him down or knock him out? Well, so far, there hasn't been anybody. Could there be? There's a very short list. On this list, I believe one of the people are a healthy, in shape, focused, and dangerous Shogun Rua. And let's talk about Shogun. Now, Shogun, he did a thing where he came in and he's exploded. And, Machida, he's beat Rashad Evans. He beat Thiago Silva at the time. Thiago Silva hadn't beat many dudes. He beat Tito, who was I'm not taking away from Machida. I'm just merely saying if we're looking at a fighter versus fighter who has so-and-so fought, there's no doubt that Mauricio Shogun Rua has had more tests. He had them earlier in his career, and he's still having them now. He went out there and he beat Quentin Rampage Jackson, broke his ribs, kneed the F out of him, kicked him in the face, busted him up, had dudes sitting in a corner, praying for Jesus. He beat Nogueira in one of the best fights, I would say, ever. He beat Alistair Overeem. TKO punched him all up in his grill. Ricardo Arona, very, very difficult, very tough fighter. Beat him, came through with that kick, if y'all haven't seen it, and then just hammer fist. These are some dangerous, deadly hammer fists, these Shogun hammer fists. Beat Kevin Randleman, beat Alistair Overeem again, and everything was going so good. And then he came over to the UFC and stunk it up in his first fight. Fought Forrest Griffin. No excuses for the man, but I will tell you what was going on in his life. He had no knee, basically. He needed a surgery after the fight because of before the fight, and then actually needed another surgery just to fix that surgery. He got married, he moved. He did a lot of stuff you shouldn't really do with a fight coming up. And he paid for it. And he got choked out in the dying seconds against Forrest Griffin. Then he fought Mark Coleman. He had some serious ring rust. He barely made it out of that fight with his lungs still intact. Thank God for him that Mark Coleman was just as tired as he was and 20 years older. And he just got out of that fight. So the Dana said, oh man, Shogun, this dude's looking rough. And, Liddell's my boy. Let's go try and get that fight real quick, because we need to have, Liddell beat somebody with the name, but maybe not the form that they used to be, aka Shogun. So let's go get him. Well, unfortunately for the plans, Shogun went and trained hard, came out light on his feet, and knocked the F out of Chuck Liddell. Now, he'd been seeing so many stars, he figured I might as well start dancing with them, and Chuck went on, NBC. I personally think that that's all part of a big plan, by the way. Chuck on Dancing with the Stars, etc., because I think NBC is the network that the UFC will get to deal with eventually. But anyways, and now you have the meeting of the two Brazilians. The undefeated Lyoto Machida and Shogun, who y'all don't even know, he's only 27 years old. He started all his foolishness when he was like 19, or he's a young ass dude. They're meeting each other, and what do they have to bring to the fight? Well, let's see. We've got, let's say just overall stand-up. Machida's got that edge. First of all, he doesn't get touched. Second of all, he doesn't put himself in that way. In that harm's way, in the danger. He doesn't just go out there, like Shogun used to, and like he still could if he kind of slipped back into his old ways. Machida likes to stand back with that Shotokan karate, bah, and he just, he's out here, just flipping that karate punch. You know what I'm talking about? And then back away. And I would have been a mad crazy fan. I said it before. If in that first exchange with Rashad Evans, when Rashad Evans was kind of trying to do his thing, and he came in, and Machida went, bah, 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 I was like, oh, snap. And then Rashad started fighting back, and I was like, yo, if he would have just knocked him out at that point, I would have just fainted and been like, this dude's the dude. Now, he ended up doing that later, but it just wasn't the same thing. He killed him, but it wasn't the same. Anyways, he's got that karate. He's got his black belt in jiu-jitsu, but we're going to get to that later. So, stand-up, I'll give the edge to Machida because of the fact that his stand-up is the kind of stand-up that knocks you out or hits you in the face, but doesn't get hit, doesn't get knocked out. So, stand-up advantage, Machida. Clinch advantage goes to Shogun. If these guys get in the clinch, that's not a place that Machida wants to be with Shogun. Shogun's got devastating knees. He's got crazy elbow. He's good in the clinch. So, clinch game goes to Shogun. However, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to get to the clinch by getting close enough. And how are you going to get close enough? You got to run in there, and that's when the striking kind of, you know what I'm saying? So, that's problems, but advantage nonetheless. Another advantage I would give to Shogun is the ground game. I would give that to Shogun as well. Now, Machida does have his black belt under the Nogueira brothers, so he's got a serious black belt, a respectable black belt, none for sure. But if they were just doing a grappling match, or this fight got taken to the ground and it was about who is going to win this fight on the ground, I'm going to pick Shogun. Another problem, though, arises. How do you get the fight to the ground? How do you get to the clinch? You got to get to him. You got to touch him first. How do you get it to the ground? Well, you not only got to get to him, but you got to overpower him. You got to knock his balance off. He got like a sumo background. Shogun's like, he's packed with, some serious background for all these fights. But nonetheless, I believe, that was gross. I believe if the fight goes to the ground, Shogun has the advantage. Speed-wise, well, come on now. Nobody in the UFC's history, except for Caleb Stearns, actually, he wasn't even faster. He just had more endurance than Machida. Nobody's faster than Machida when it comes to this weight class. And just the hands and the feet and being, evasive and elusive and agile and all that stuff. So that goes to Machida. When you're on the ground, you got that ground and pound. What happens next? Now, we only saw a little bit of the ground and pound from Machida, and he knocked the F out of a very dazed Thiago Silva. But I give the ground and pound to Machida, to Shogun. That's for sure. When it comes down to it, if you look at, point for point, it's not like a wipeout. Like, if you were to say, like, Anderson Silva versus, Forrest Griffin, and you say stand-up, Anderson Silva, ground game, Anderson Silva, you like a wrestling, you go Forrest Griffin, but then you go clinch, Anderson Silva, so, everything, Anderson Silva, and then you go, it's not like that. It's very close. But again, the problem is, how does Shogun get it to the points where I believe that he will have the advantage? That's the tough part. And in the end, y'all, I'm going to say F it all. You know what I mean? I'm just going to go Shogun by third round. Third round something. Now, if you ask me to put money on this, I'll say F that too. I'm just going Shogun, third round. That's all I'm going to say. Shogun, third round. I told you, what I thought about the fighters and their abilities and who has the advantage starting off. They just stand and square off who's got that advantage and what fighter A needs to do to get the advantage over fighter B. And, all that. You know what I'm saying. But in the end, someone calling me, what? But in the end, I say F that. Shogun, round 3. Let me get this phone. Alright, I'm back. Shogun, round 3. Going with the heart, son. Going with my heart. Do it, man. Do it. Okay, next fight. Cain Velasquez versus Ben Rothwell. Another difficult fight to pick. Now, this is actually, more difficult. Because you've got Cain Velasquez, who we've seen what he can do. But we've also seen him in serious trouble and overcome over what's his name? You know what I'm talking about, this dude here. Czech Congo. He had got knocked out like twice in that fight, basically, but Czech Congo's so bad on the ground, he said, I'm just zombie you down to the ground, end up in mount, etc., etc. So we know that, he's got some good recovery skills, but if somebody like Ben Rothwell rocks him, and then Ben Rothwell is, trying to stuff a takedown from a half knocked out Cain Velasquez is going to get stuffed, probably going to end up in, Velasquez would have ended up in, 4 points, on his elbows and his knees, on the ground, and Rothwell just end up behind him, just, end up with a TKO. So it's a difficult situation. You also have Ben Rothwell, who's coming into the UFC, and, he's got a lot of fights. He's got 30 wins, and he's got 6 losses. And other than his loss to Andrei Arlovsky, he hasn't lost since 2005. And then before that, he lost to like Tim Sylvia in like his 5th fight ever, and he lost to Mike Whitehead. But other than, he went on a long streak where he beat Krzysztof Szynski twice. He beat Rico Rodriguez. He beat Travis Fulton. I believe Travis Fulton is like basically the guy who has more fights than anybody else in MMA history. Like people say like Dan Severn, because I think he's got like 92 wins and 16 losses or something like this. But just to bring it up, Travis Fulton has 191 wins, for those who don't know. He's got 124 wins by submission, guys. You know what I'm saying? So just in case you aren't aware of who the most active MMA fighter is in the history of fighting, that's Travis Fulton. And he's crazy. So anyways, you got 124 submission wins? You know what I mean? He's got 45 losses. If you fight 200 times, you're going to lose a couple times. Sorry, if you fight 150 times. He's got 11 draws. How are you going to have 11 draws? He got more draws than some people have. He got almost 2 times as many draws as Cain Velasquez has fights. I'm just saying, I wanted to bring up Travis Fulton for those who don't know. Roy Nelson, Ben Rothwell has a win over Roy Nelson. Roy Nelson's a tough guy. And he's fought a lot of good guys. But I don't think he's fought anybody quite like Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez, he's 6-0. He beat Jake O'Brien. Jake O'Brien was a difficult fight for anybody, it seems, except for Cain Velasquez. He beat Denis Stoyniak. Okay. And he beat Czech Congo. And that, again, that was a fight where I was on the ground laughing. I was laughing my ass off because I was like, Cain, get him. Crack. Oh, no, he's done. He's done. Gets that takedown. And I'm like, oh, my God. How do you let a dead man take you down? How do you let a dead man take you down? That is horrible. Then the second round he came out. Bam! Got rocked again. I said, yo, Cain, if you get out of this, don't ever come out like that again. And he got rocked harder in the second round and still took him down. Beat him up all the second round. Third round, I'm like, oh no, oh no. And then what really had me rolling was when Czech Congo went for the takedown himself. I said, oh my lord, Czech Congo, what are you doing? But I had picked Cain Velasquez because of this knowledge. But again, it's just difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult. This is not the same fight, obviously. And this is another one of those things where it's like, who do I feel is going to win? Who do I think is going to win? And then, like, what one overrides the other? Because it's not like heart or head. They're both, like, head, but you know what I mean? In this one here, initially I always said I think Ben Rothwell is going to win. I think Ben Rothwell is going to win. I think Ben Rothwell is going to win. Then it came down to looking into it a little more. And then, so I think Ben Rothwell is going to win. But I felt like Cain Velasquez is going to win. Then I said, well, what happens? What happens if you pick Ben Rothwell and Cain Velasquez wins? And then I would have been saying, I knew it. I knew he was going to win. Frick, I'm so pissed. I said, what happens if you pick Cain Velasquez and then Ben Rothwell wins? And then I probably would have been like, ah, damn. So I guess that's what I got to go with. I got to go with the one that will make me more angry if I'm wrong. And I'm going to go with the one that will keep me less angry if it ends up going the other way. I was going with Ben Rothwell the whole time, and then I started making the video, started looking into everything, and and I said, you know what? I got to go with Cain. I'm going to go Cain by decision, and I think that's what's going to happen. Cain Velasquez by decision. And if it goes another way, I'm going to be alright with that. I'm going to be okay with that. But this is a great fight. It's a close fight. It's a tough fight. And, I'm all for it. Alright, so now we got Gleison Tibau versus Josh Neer. Won't spend too long on this. Gleison Tibau, he's great on the ground. He's huge. For his weight class, he's one of the biggest guys in the division. He's coming off a loss to Melvin Guillard. He's got wins over Jeremy Stevens, Rich Clementi, Terry Edom, He's got 19 wins. He's got 6 losses. In his last 5 fights, 3 of them have come. Now he's fighting Josh Neer, who has 25 wins, 8 losses. But the thing that's kind of interesting is 2 guys that Josh Neer had beat, those guys beat Gleison Tibau. And that's Joe Stevenson and Melvin Guillard. Recently, he lost to Kurt Pellegrino in a fight where, that just happened too. And I believe I picked Josh Neer, and I was just so pissed because I think he stayed on his back the whole time and didn't do anything. He just stayed on his back, got angry about stuff, and just got decisioned. In a fight where if he could have fought to get the top position, maybe he could have done something better than what he did. But anyways, both guys have losses to Nate Diaz. Josh Neer also has a loss to Nick Diaz. He has a win over Mac Danzig, win over Din Thomas. And he also likes to submit people. He's got 11 submission wins. He's got 10 knockouts. Another good fight, another good matchup. Joe Silva is doing a good job with these. Initially, I thought Gleison Tibau for the win. And then I started to look into it, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's Josh Neer. But then we also realized that Gleison Tibau does like going for takedowns, and if he gets Josh Neer on his back, which Josh Neer has proven to be susceptible to that, I believe he can stay on top with his black belt, use his ability, and not get submitted by Neer off of his back. So I'm going to pick Gleison Tibau there for a decision win. Joe Stevenson versus Spencer Fisher. This fight, another close fight where it's like who's going to win. It's a toss-up. But I'm just going to get right into who I think is going to win. I think Joe Stevenson's going to win this fight. Recently he's had a tough outing. I mean, he beat Nate Diaz, but he lost to Diego Sanchez. He lost to Kenny Florian by brutal fashion. And he lost to BJ Penn also by brutal fashion. He's got wins over Kurt Pellegrino, Melvin Guillard, wins over Gleison Tibau. I believe he's going to be able to use his wrestling. He's got, he's got like 40 fights. He'll be able to use the knowledge from all of his fights to come in here against another tough guy, Spencer Fisher, who fights with Miletich. 27 fights, 23 wins, 4 losses. His losses are coming to Frank Edgar, Hermes Franca, Sam Stout, and lost a while back. But I think that basically what Frank Edgar did, I believe Frank Edgar was able to basically stay on him, pressure him, keep him on his back, and win a decision. And I believe that is what Joe Stevens is going to be able to do. I know Joe Stevenson and these guys, and especially in the lightweight division, these guys who are wrestlers and these guys who have decent ground game or pretty good ground game, and some of them exceptional ground game, they like to sit around now and try and box for 15 minutes. That's getting real annoying. I like these guys to win with what they're good at. and not pull out cheesy decisions with what they're not that good at. If Joe Stevenson does what I think he should do, I believe he will take down Spencer Fisher, be able to keep him on his back. He'll be able to keep up the pressure, keep working, and around 15 minutes later, add a little bit of time from between the rounds. I believe that Spencer Fisher will have a loss, and Joe Stevenson will have a win by another decision. But that's a good fight. And then we've got Anthony Rumble Johnson versus Yoshida. Another good fight, man. Another good fight. Yoshida, he's got that judo. He's working with Jackson Submission Fighting. He's coming off a win over Brandon Wolf. Brandon Wolf was in there. That's just that's not a good fight. Brandon Wolf is just not that great. And, he ran through him. Josh Koscheck knocked out Yoshida hardcore in the grimiest, dirtiest, just most violent UFC ever since like the early UFCs in the UFC Fight for the Troops. You had Corey Hill got his leg broke. What's that dude's name? Razak Al Hassan got his arm broke. This guy, freaking Yoshida, got knocked out real bad. There was another real bad knockout. I think Swick was on that card and knocked out some Canadian. I'm just forgetting. I'm just thinking off the top of the dome. But the whole night was grimy. Anyways, he's got another quick win over War Machine. 56-second Anaconda choke. Choke War Machine unconscious. He's got wins over Dan Hardy, Katsuya Inui, and basically he's had a really good situation since his first 3 fights, where he actually went 1-2. And then since then has only 1 loss, and that's to Josh Koscheck. He's a big guy, he's a strong guy, but the thing about Yoshida is he's not as big or as strong as Anthony Rumble Johnson. Anthony Rumble Johnson's going to have a 4-inch height advantage. He's going to have an 8-inch reach advantage. They're both going to come in extremely cut. Anthony Rumble Johnson is saying that he's going to cut. Either he's going to have to cut. Not he's going to. Like, if he doesn't cut it, then he won't make weight. 50 pounds. 50 pounds. Now, guys, this is not healthy. Cutting 50 pounds, and, unless you're Butterbean, that is, and even Butterbean, that wouldn't be healthy, because you ain't supposed to, lose 50 pounds in a week and a half. He's got to drop 50 pounds. Now, anybody that's dropping 50 pounds, that's got to affect so much stuff on the insides. And that eventually in a fight, that's got to affect your stamina. That's got to affect a lot of stuff, man. But that also means that between that, 5, 6 o'clock on Friday when they do that weigh-in, and, maybe around 9 o'clock at night on Saturday, he might put on 15, 20 pounds. So he's going to come in big. But I'll be damned if he's going to try and cut 50 pounds. 5-0, guys. I'm not saying 1-5. 50 pounds. He's actually cutting like Curtis Jackson off him. Because now he weighs probably weighs about 150. Seriously, he's got to come in at... He's losing probably 1/4 of his weight. He's going to cut 1/4 of what he weighs. And that is crazy. Anyways, it's hard to get past that. But it is what it is. He's got wins over Luigi Fioravanti, knocked him out. Kevin Burns knocked him out with the head kick. Fight before that was against Kevin Burns, where he got his eye poked 4 or 5 times. Referee, stop poking his eye, stop poking his eye. Finally pokes his eye damn near out. Winner by eye poke, Kevin Burns. One of the worst decisions by a referee in the history of MMA. Just to see, if I poke you in the eye, and then the ref says, hey man, don't poke him in the eye. Then I got you again. And the referee's like, come on man, come on, don't do that. Gotcha. Come on, man. Please stop poking his eye. Gotcha. We're gonna have to stop the fight for a second. Yo, please watch the eye poke. Rumble off fight. He's getting upset. He's like, what the frick? He's literally, you watch this fight. It was on TV a few days ago. He's frustrated. Like, why am I getting poked in the eye so much and nothing's happening? So then finally, you know, he was powering up. Yeah! I think it was this finger, to be honest. Yeah! Yar! Like, if you could have seen it, went like this. Gunks. Like, that deep. Anthony Rumble Johnson falls to the ground like a little girl. And anybody who gets poked in the eye that bad, yeah, you would scream like a little girl. Yeah! By the way, I don't know what a little girl screams like by first hand. I just know I've seen it on TV, and I can imagine what a little girl's voice sounds like and what it'd be like screaming, but I don't imagine it. You know what I mean? I don't do that. I'm just saying I could if I needed to in trying to compare it to what a little girl might sound like. He's on like he's writhing in pain. Like, when you say writhing, that's not like, that's like hardcore. You know, when your body does stupid stuff, and you can't control how stupid your body looks, like, you can punch in the face. Oh, damn, you can hold your hand, you hold your jaw, maybe. You know, you get cut in the nose, you know what to do. This guy was just like, Just everything was happening. He's doing all types of stuff. And the referee's looking over this. Well, I guess he lost the fight. Winner by TKO, Kevin Burns. And then they went and tried to bring this to the Athletic Commission. They're like, yo, referee after that was like, my bad, I made a mistake. Kevin Burns is like, I had to throw punches like this because I broke my hand 4 times in like 18 months or something like that. And that's how I throw my punch. That ain't a punch, dog. That's a stab. You know what I mean? Anyways, he said that. Rumble had to get his retina reattached. And there was like a picture of like his eye. Like, it looked like he got shot right in the face. And all the blood like went right here. Oh, man. And they were like, we can't do anything. So he's got a loss. Ugly loss. But it is what it is. Anthony Rumble Johnson versus Yoshida. This is going to be a good fight. Yoshida's got good submissions. He's got great judo. Rumble Johnson's got great wrestling, great takedowns. 50 pounds is a lot to lose. It's going to be a difficult one to call here. Initially, I was thinking Rumble would win this. I went through the thing. I said, but if he goes and takes him down and he's tired and he could get subbed, but then I was like, what if he doesn't even want to take him down? What if he uses that 8-inch reach advantage and is pretty good damn striking? He could just knock him out. Then I said, well, what if Yoshida takes his judo and in one of those clinches puts Rumble on his back? He definitely can submit him from the top. So in the end, this is a really difficult one to pick. And I in my head, I say Rumble Johnson's going to win. Like, that's what I think. But I feel like Yoshida's going to win. Because if Yoshida gets him on his back, he's going to win. If Yoshida, gets him in any kind of submission attempt, he's going to win. And he's cutting 50 pounds. If you show me you can cut 50 pounds and win a fight against Yoshida, I'll pick you the next time you have to cut 50 pounds. The last time you had to cut this weight was against Rich Clementi, and you were talking about how bad that cut was, and you weren't ready for it, and this and this and that. I don't know if anybody's ready for 50 pounds when you only coming in to weigh in at 170. You know what I mean? 170 is what you end up at. You cut 50 pounds. I'm going to go with Yoshida by 3rd round after Anthony Rumble Johnson has completely gassed out. Yoshida wins the fight. That's what I'm going to go with. Now, another great thing, we've got the Spike TV showing. We're going to see Ryan Bader versus Eric Schaefer, and we're going to see Anthony Hardonk versus Pat Barry. If you have Spike TV, you want to watch that. I think you can turn that on at 9 o'clock. In my head, I said Eric Schaefer is going to win this fight, but I felt, not my heart, I felt Ryan Bader will win the fight. I'm going to go with Ryan Bader. He's undefeated right now. He's got wins over Vinny Magalhaes and Carmelo Marrero. Eric Schaefer, I picked him in his last 2 fights. He has the win over Houston Alexander and a win over Antonio Mendez. He also has 2 very losses to Stephan Bonner and Michael Bisping. He also has wins over Jason Guida and Rob McDonald. I'm going to pick, again, Ryan Bader. I think he'll be able to take down Schaefer and not get submitted and win by either TKO in the second or a decision. Anthony Hardonk versus Pat Barry. This is a fight where I actually would like to see Pat Barry win. I like his style. I like his leg kicks. He's a funny dude. He does Techno Viking amazing. And I need him to win so that he can do the Techno Viking on, the main card. But I don't know. The Techno Viking's getting old now. By the time he gets on the main card, if he does get to a main card, he might not even do it. So that's very frustrating. Pat Barry, he's going to have a 4 or 5 inch height disadvantage. He's going to weigh probably 25 to 30 pounds less. And we also saw what happens when he makes a bad decision against the bigger guy, Tim Hegg, somebody who should have been able to beat. Somebody that came in another fight against Todd Duffy and got knocked out faster than anybody else in the UFC. Tim Hegg, he's a school teacher. No disrespect. I'm just saying Pat Barry should have won that fight. And he made one mistake. And just the sheer fact that Tim Hegg was bigger than him allowed him to lose that fight. And Anthony Hardonk in this fight is definitely better than Tim Hegg. He's more experienced. He's got better striking. He's got better ground game. Maybe, I don't know if he has a better ground game, but he knows kind of what to do on the ground. I really want Pat Barry to win this fight. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm going to have to pick Anthony Hardonk to win this fight. Hopefully Pat Barry can chop down Anthony Hardonk's legs. It's going to be a tough fight for Pat Barry. That's all I got to say. Pat Barry's going to be in for a tough fight, win or lose, unless he really comes out there and shows something. He's going to have a lot of disadvantage with height, reach, weight. It's just tough. Undercard, Yushin Okami versus Chael Sonnen. That's an amazing fight. It's a damn shame that it's not even on the Spike TV card. When you have Yushin Okami versus Chael Sonnen on the preliminary card, can't even get it on the Spike TV card, but I gotta watch Ryan Bader versus Eric Schaefer. That's straight retarded. I'm gonna pick Yushin Okami winning this fight, and then injuring himself sometime shortly after and keeping himself out of a title shot. George Rivera versus Rob Kimmons. I'm picking George Rivera. Razak Al Hassan, they brought him back. I don't know why. No disrespect, he looked terrible. He was the one that came out against Steve Cantwell, threw punches with his chin all up in the air, like this, and then ended up getting put in an armbar, did everything in his power to not get out of the armbar, even though it looked like he was trying to get out of the armbar. None of the stuff he was doing was ever going to work. Didn't tap. Because of that, ended up sitting around for, when was that fight? That fight was December 10th, 2008. So sitting around for like a year, and now he's back, and he's going to fight, Kyle Kingsbury, who I'm surprised is still in the UFC. He lost in the Ultimate Fighter TV show, and then he lost in the finals against, not like, it was just a finale, the TV show finale, against Tom Lawler. Before that, he lost King of the Cage. So he's coming off 2 losses, really 3 losses. And they kept him, and he's fighting Razak Al-Hassan. I don't know what's going to happen in this fight. I don't think I should have to pick who's going to win in this fight because that's ridiculous. But let me take one more look at Razak. You know, it's a bad fight, guys. This is a bad fight. It's a bad fight for everybody. I'm just going to go with the crowd loses. No, I don't know, man. I really don't want to pick Razak. And if I do and he loses, I'll feel stupid. So I'm just going to pick Kyle Kingsbury. And then you have Stefan Struve versus Chase Gormley. I'm going to pick... this is another tough fight. Chase Gormley, I believe... I'm going to go with Chase Gormley. He trains with Body Shop Fitness. He's undefeated right now. He's got a couple good wins under his belt. He's a wrestler. I think he'll be able to take the skyscraper down, take him down, keep him on his back, and win the fight. UFC 104, great card when it comes down to just like good fights. You've got obviously the main event, Lyoto Machida versus Shogun. Cain Velasquez versus Ben Rothwell is a great fight. Joe Stevenson versus Spencer Fisher, that's a good fight. Rumble versus Yoshida, that's a good fight. Okami versus Chael Sonnen is one of the better fights on the whole card. Unfortunately, we might not be able to see it, but that's a good fight. Great fight, great card. I'll see you guys later on after the night, after there's a new champion, y'all. A new light heavyweight champion. Please. MMA, y'all. It's important. Peace.